So I want to preface this conversation just by saying that if you have plans to do the Disney Institute at some point, maybe in the next year or the next few years, I would recommend giving this podcast episode a pass until you've completed it, because I think it is so neat to go in completely blind without knowing a lot about what you're going to experience. That's how I kind of went in, and it was an unbelievable experience and so magical. And I know the DCL podcast has a ton of amazing episodes that you would love to listen to. But if you are just a Disney fanatic, a Disney nerd like me, and you want to, hear a little bit about the Disney Institute, keep listening, because this is interesting stuff.
Yeah. And if you're like Christy or I, and you probably will never do it, but you love to hear about all things Disney,
right,
keep listening.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you cruise a little smarter. And today we're going to talk about a not cruising thing. Christy, is that true?
We're talking about a not cruising thing.
I sort of like it when we talk about not cruising things sometimes. Obviously, the cruising is in our hearts, but there are other things that Disney does and other travel type things that you can do that are not cruising at all.
And things that this is like goals for me.
Yes, we are really excited. We ourselves have not done the thing that we're doing, but Christy and I, that we're going to be talking about, but Christy and I have talked about, we would like to do that. So we made Steve go back to his cave so that we could do this episode. And let's go ahead and welcome our guest. Christy, you should welcome our guest because you're friends.
We're friends. We're Insta friends. So Jessica, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
So we were talking before we recorded, we think Jessica was on maybe 2019 on a trip report with us. So it's fun to have you back.
Welcome back, Second Timer Club.
Thank you. Thanks.
And she is a Run Disney fanatic. So she has an Instagram for her Run Disney stuff, which is called what?
Bella Notte Runner.
Mm-hmm. Bella Notte Runner. Very cute. And also other running, but also Run Disney. So
you'll have to come back to Disneyland in 2024.
I am so excited. I've never run at Disneyland, and it is definitely on my bucket list in a couple of years.
Okay, cool. Yeah. If you've run at Disney World, the perk of that is that you're like on Disney property the whole time. Whereas I'm pretty sure the Disneyland half sometimes runs like to Angel Stadium or random places.
It runs through it. I did it.
Yeah. Right. I forgot about that.
I think it was like 2005-ish maybe that I did it. And yes, we run through the stadium.
Which is like super cool, but
super cool. Very far away though.
You do leave the Disney bubble, but you get to run through Disneyland and California Adventure, and if you do the 10K, I think you're on property the whole time, which is pretty cool.
So maybe the preferred race.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about Run Disney. What is our topic today?
I was like, who should actually introduce this? But I'll just say, we are talking today about Disney Institute, which is like fancy person's business college or something. It's like the best way that I could think of to describe it.
Which I don't want to go too deep into my Disney nerddom, but is this what Saratoga Springs was built for? This is the one in the same Disney Institute?
Yeah. So
for real?
Yeah, there was a Disney Dish episode. Is that what you're thinking of?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm an avid Disney Disher.
Me too. Yeah, they were talking about the origins of Disney Institute. And I think back in the day, it used to be like a program where you would learn to do a myriad of different things on your vacation. And I believe that is why they built Disney Saratoga Springs Resort. The Disney Institute that was created back then is no longer really in existence. And now Disney Institute is much more focused on business courses. So they do courses on property, both at Disneyland and Disney World. And they also, I believe, do a lot of like strategic planning coaching. Like, someone will go out and visit a company and help them create their strategic plan or create their values and vision. And so they do a lot of kind of one-on-one consulting as well.
Yeah, I remember from that episode, it wasn't even called Saratoga Springs back then. It was like they built this resort and golf course right across from Disney Springs, which was downtown Disney, because they were like, people are going to come to Florida and they're going to take our week-long college courses and they're going to have little certificates from us that say that we do this. And it worked out for a while because of the diehards, but then it fizzled because after you hit your tap out of, the core demographic, you still need people to want to do this thing. And then Disney was like, well, we have this whole thing built, and one thing led to another, and it became a DVC property. But the new version of it is fascinating. I'd love it if you could give sort of an overview of your experience with this product.
Sure. So when I was going into this, I really didn't have a ton of knowledge on the Disney Institute. It had kind of been on my radar for a little while, and they completely shut the program down, at least the in-person learning, during the pandemic. So it was closed down from 2020, 2021, and then they just brought it back, I believe, this past spring or early summer. And so it had always kind of been a curiosity for me because I'm a huge Disney fan, and I would, any opportunity to kind of immerse myself in a new Disney experience, but also have it be super applicable to my everyday life was a really exciting thing for me.
I feel like Disney does the targeted advertising because I've definitely had ads on both Instagram, Facebook, potentially Twitter. I'm not sure about Twitter for sure, but that, so they're like, oh, a person of a certain age who's got either this is their career or whatever, and our Disney fans, they are definitely targeting people that they show this program to. And I've looked at it a few times and I was like, oh, I can't make that work. I mean, I could, but maybe I won't. But yeah, so it's very cool.
It was really neat. And it is, I think as you hinted to, it is fairly expensive. It is, a little bit more expensive than some of the competing products out there. But I think they price it that way because they kind of expect that companies will pay for their employees.
So from poking around the website, I've noticed that they have courses that they refer to as on-site courses, which means these are offered at Disney locations. I'm assuming, do you know if it's outside of Disney World and Disneyland?
They've got on-site courses both at Disney World and Disneyland, and then they also go to select cities on occasion, and they will hold courses in random places around the US. And they also, during the pandemic, they've added a virtual course option where you can do kind of on demand at home as well. So a lot of different options.
Though arguably part of the draw to this would be the vacation vibe, where you are learning, but you're learning in an environment that feels Disney fun. But, not knocking the online thing if that's what is most accessible. But if I were doing it, I'd probably be like, I want to go in person.
Well, yeah. And so for the Disneyland and Disney World on-site courses, they take you into what they call their living laboratories. So you go into the parks or into some backstage areas, and they, you'll do activities, or they will demonstrate concepts that you've been learning, throughout your course, in person. So I think that would be really hard to recreate in your hometown or online in that kind of format.
Yeah, the 3 on-site courses I'm noticing are Disney's approach to leadership excellence, Disney's approach to employee engagement, and Disney's approach to quality service. So these are probably three areas that they consider themselves experts in. So they're like, let's share our strategies and learning modules based on these three areas.
And then for each of those three courses, they have a few different, they've got two different options, at least for their on-site courses. They've got a 1-day option and then a 3.5-day option. And I think at least right now, the 1-day option was at Disneyland and the 3.5-day course was at Disney World.
Do you have to, you can just sort of choose to take one of them? You don't have to be recommended or you don't have to apply. It's sort of like, if you want to do this, you can do it.
Yeah, it's just sort of a registration process where you go online and register for the course, send them in your information and a credit card to pay for it, and then you're kind of enrolled in the program. For me personally, I was looking at different programs. I wanted to do sort of a professional development something this year. It was kind of part of my personal goals and professional goals to just kind of immerse myself in a different way of thinking. And I'm kind of partial to the Disney product. And so I, came to my boss and I said, this is the program I want to do. I ended up doing the Disney's Approach to Leadership Excellence program, the 3.5-day program at Disney World. I got the okay to do it, and I registered the next. I was kind of on the calendar to go the next month. That's kind of how it fell into my lap.
Well, that makes a lot of sense that some employers offer continuing education incentives or, here's a stipend to build your expertise or your subject matter. And this could be a way for you to do something that you're passionate about, but also that ties in with your company.
Yeah, I think not all companies, but some companies have, part of a budget dedicated to continuing education or professional development. So it definitely, at least for me personally, that allowed me to take advantage.
So there's a 1-day option, there's a 3-day option. Obviously, 3 days is 3 times as long as 1 day. So I'm sure there's different things offered in each of these. Which one did you do? I'm guessing you did a 3-day.
Yep, I did the 3.5-day program.
So what's included in a 3.5-day leadership program?
So it starts on, at least the course I took started on a Monday afternoon. So it was kind of the first day was a half a day. And then it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it included, all of the course material. They fed us incredibly well at the Disney Institute. We were served breakfast, lunch, and a morning snack and an afternoon snack. On the first day, because we started after lunchtime, we had an afternoon snack and a team dinner that first night. So food was included. We were provided a discount on park tickets. They did kind of offer a conference rate for, both the, park, full day park hopper tickets and also like an after 5 p.m. ticket. So I took advantage and did, 2 evenings of parks. The Disney Institute was held at Disney's Contemporary Resort this time. It's not always held there. I think, it tends to jump between resorts sometimes, but at least when I went in August, it was held at Contemporary. Lodging was not included, but we did get a pretty good rate on rooms.
So lodging not included, discounts potentially, or like group rates available for park tickets and rooms if you wanted to stay. Did you end up staying at the Contemporary then?
I did. The discount was amazing, and I've never stayed there, so I was like, I absolutely need to stay at the resort that the conference is held at. And it it was really nice to stay there because the courses started pretty early. I think Tuesday, Wednesday, they started at 7:30 in the morning, and Thursday, I think they started at like 7 a.m. So it was really nice to be there and not have to worry about Ubering. Yeah, I think it would have been stressful to kind of commute back and forth. I mean, people did it, obviously, but it was really nice to just be there.
Well, also Florida in August, I feel like being able to just wake up, not have to go outside, go right into your conference and just like wear air-conditioned clothing all day would be a bonus.
You're such a baby.
I'm not kidding. I just have a much better experience at Disney World in January.
I understand. So do I, frankly.
We all do. Did you stay in one of the Incredibles rooms? The whole building's redone now, right?
I think so. I stayed in one of the garden suite, the garden wings, and that was themed to Incredibles, and it was really cute.
I think they started in the tower and then moved over to the garden wing. So that means that they probably are all done now because they made it over there. We also have stayed in the garden wings, and I like those rooms. They're nice.
So you did like the executive leadership training. Did you have tracks that you could take so that you would take different courses and you could pick your courses, or was it everybody who was there took the same course?
Yeah, so everyone that registered for that course, we all did the same track. It was one group. We had 2 facilitators that kind of were there with us the whole week. They walked us through a whole binder of information on how Disney operates and what their leaders do that really kind of inspired the team to do amazing work.
What I want to cheat. Are you allowed to say, I give us like one little tiny thing. Give us one thing that a Disney leader does that inspires the minions under them to keep going.
I think that
probably not calling them minions is something to start with, but
so a lot of what this Disney's approach to leadership excellence course was about, it was really focused on creating and sustaining your company's values and vision. And they talked about how important it is to have a really clear set of values and a really clear vision that everyone in the organization is focused on. So everyone from, the executive leadership team all the way down the corporate ladder, if everyone has the same goals, the same vision, the same values, and everyone's working toward that, and everyone feels inspired and excited about those values and vision, that was a big part of what this course was about.
One of the things that would scare me going into an executive leadership training course is that they would make you role play. Did you have to do that?
Not really, no.
Oh, thank God.
Going into this program, I was actually really nervous because I thought it would be all of these CEOs, and I'd have kind of an imposter syndrome. I just get nervous, and it was kind of, I was surprised there were people, there were all types of people from all different types of businesses at this leadership course, from different levels across an organization. So it was really, really neat. And it really kind of drove home the idea that anyone can be a leader at any level of an organization. It's not just, the CEO and the executive leadership team. They really talked about leadership at every level. And that was really cool. It was really, really
inspiring, right? Yes. Because even listening to it, I was like, God, that makes total sense. And what a great way to get your team behind something is to say, we can all be leaders at our level. And so that we are leading by example, or we are whatever it is, even if they're Walt Disney World cast member facing, they can still be, or guest facing, they can still be leaders. And I don't know. That sounds cool to me. I love the idea of it.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because we did go out into the field and we talk to cast members about, about their leaders and, what works for leadership and what has not worked. And it was just really, it was neat to talk to cast members of some cast members that were very new, and then some more senior cast members that had been there a while and they're in more leadership roles.
Where were these? Like, where did you guys get to go?
Okay, so the Disney Institute's kind of, they're pretty secret about where they're going to take you. It's because it can change a lot from day to day and course to course. But
and who's available even?
Right. There could be special events at a particular park, or the park could be super busy, so they may, take you to a different park. But for us, we went to Magic Kingdom. We went to Disney's Animal Kingdom. And we also we visited one of their laundry facilities. So it was a backstage area. And it was so funny because the first day we went to Magic Kingdom and people were super excited. And some people in our course had never been to a Disney park before. So this was brand new to them. So, everyone was super jazzed about it. And, it was very, very exciting. And we went to Animal Kingdom. And again, people were really, really excited. And then we went to they announced we're going to go to the laundry facility. And I was incredibly excited because that's a place that I would never, ever go unless I joined the laundry facilities team.
Exactly.
Other people were not as excited about that. But I was like, I was in heaven because I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
How many locations does that laundry facility operate for? Like, does it do hotels or only cast member outfits or?
So the laundry facility we visited, it's nicknamed Flow, and it's the fourth laundry. I forgot what the O stands for, but it's basically the fourth laundry facility that Disney has on. Maybe
operations or something?
Yeah, something like that. This particular facility did all of the sheets and like the top sheets for, they did the value resorts. They did some cruise line. It was I think the fourth laundry operation. I think it's fourth laundry operation. They did kind of the overflow for Disney Cruise Line. And also we saw a few sheets from the Galactic Star Cruiser as well. So I think it was overflow for that location, which is really neat.
I guess it makes sense that they wouldn't do bedding on site when you have like 20 hotels or however many they have on property. Like, it saves money and time. I do sometimes notice though, like the value hotels, no shade, because y'all know I love Pop Century, got to get on that little Skyliner and all of that. But those towels are sandpaper and very thin. And I've also stayed in deluxe resorts, which have like plusher towels. So it's also clear that the brand itself has to like mix all of their laundered goods across all of that. So that's a fascinating thing. I might be like you and be excited to learn about that, just because I'm like, how do you handle this for, what do they have? 80,000, 100,000 employees at Walt Disney World? Something massive like that.
Yeah. And it makes sense to your point. The value resorts, their towels and the sheets are not, they're not as soft and plush as the deluxe resort. And it's, it helps them not have to say, okay, this laundry's, specifically for All-Star Movies. This is for, Coronado Springs. This is for Wilderness Lodge. If they can say, okay, all of the value resorts go to this location. It was insane. The amount of, it was like a factory. To see all of this machinery, folding towels, folding sheets. It's hard to describe, but it was a crazy, it was so as a big Disney fan, it was so cool to see. It was really cool to see.
That's so cute. I love that you were out there being like, we're going to the laundry facility number 4. That's amazing. And also unexpected, which is
Right.
cool. I hardly ever talk about this because what is there to say about Disneyland in 2005? But I used to be a very good friend of the Beast, and I have spent quite a bit of time at Disneyland as a cast member. And I remember being so excited to like have gone there as an annual pass holder in high school, and then to like go into the backstage area and see the way that they do laundry, and cast costuming at Disneyland Resort is massive. And like you could be reassigned to a new place with a completely different outfit than you would normally have, but they definitely will have your size and everything you could possibly need because it's that large of an operation. So that sort of stuff is sort of interesting to think about. But I imagine there are a lot of people attending this who don't work in an environment as large or as scaled up as Disney. So I'm curious to see what leadership looks like when you're trying to like small scale it, or like at least not be for a company that has 4 different laundry facilities for one operation.
It's interesting. So Disney's obviously a huge, huge company. I work for a boutique consulting firm. We've got about 7 employees. We're very, very small. We have a lot of contractors that do work with us. So we are a very, very small company, obviously very different from Disney. But I think a lot of the core, the foundational tips and, the things I learned, they would apply to a company of any size. And I think it's especially important for a large company, a lot of the things that the Disney Institute introduced, because if you have thousands of employees, if you don't have a strong culture and if you're not all aligned to the same vision, I could imagine people having a ton of different ideas on what the day-to-day business looks like. So I think having that alignment is incredibly important at a large company, but also at small companies too. I think it can be really empowering, it can be incredibly important for small companies to all be aligned.
Do you think that was like then the core message? I mean, I guess you talked about it in the beginning, and now it's sort of coming back again, the clear vision and values for your company, right? That's one of the things you guys discussed. And then you're talking about it as well at the end here. So was that sort of, do you think, the point of this particular training session at the Disney Institute?
Yeah, I think that's sort of like the thread through all the different days of this program.
Okay.
Was, creating values and vision.
And culture. The culture that everybody wants to, this is where they're getting it from. Places like Disney Institute, apparently. Right.
And actually, I mentioned, when I came back, my boss asked, what did you take away? What were the big takeaways? And I talked about values and vision. He says, oh yeah, it's a pretty hot topic for a lot of, it's a common way that people kind of think about leadership development within a company. Disney is very, their teachings on leadership development are very on par with other
the pulse
other
of the business. Yeah. The pulse of the business world right now.
But it was very, very interesting to learn about values and vision from the perspective of, how Disney does it, and to get real world examples about, how this is played out for them at different stages, across the company's history. We got some really cool stories from Walt Disney, when he was running the Walt Disney Company, and also our facilitators had some really cool insights and stories from their time. They were both longtime cast members at the Walt Disney Company before they started with the Disney Institute and just really found a love for teaching. And they were so inspirational and very, very motivating. Yeah, I left every single day of this program feeling so excited and so motivated to go home and make all these changes. And it was funny. The things I was motivated to do and change would kind of change day to day based on what we were learning and kind of my depth and understanding of the topics that Disney was teaching changed, and it broadened every day. And I think it was a huge game changer for me as a professional. And I'm really hoping that over the next 6 months to a year, I'll be able to implement some big changes for our team.
I feel like when you were at the Disney Institute, we were messaging one night. I feel like you talked about little trinkets too. So it makes me think of when Chris and I were on the Wish for the pre-inaugural, the enchanting cruise, or whatever they called it. We'd come back to the cabin or we even walked in the cabin. We're like, what are the presents? Like, she and I were like really into looking to see what kind of presents we got. And it sounds like you got some presents as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. I guess I should have covered that when we were talking about what the Disney Institute includes, but we were given kind of a really big binder that we can take home that includes all of the course material for the week. We were also provided a really cool water bottle that was branded for Disney Institute. We were given a pretty cool drawstring backpack that was like higher quality than the ones that you get from like a race or something. So that was really neat. We got a neat pen. We've got a luggage tag. There's one other thing I'm forgetting. Oh, a branded umbrella. They just kind of gave them out as we were going on one of our field excursions, because August in Florida, it rains a lot. So
yes.
I saw this on social media before I attended the Disney Institute. They do motivate people to participate and, share their insights and observations with little like Disney figurines. They would have they'd have like princesses one day, they'd have the Fab Five another day, they'd have Pixar characters another day. So, if you participated, sometimes you could get a Disney figurine and we'd all kind of collect them and then trade them later on if someone had your favorite character. So it was really neat. And you can feel free to take that out if you think that that's a spoiler, because I don't want to spoil too much.
As you said, you found that piece of like information on social media ahead of time. And we talked about that too before your trip, was that there just wasn't a lot of information about the Disney Institute and what really happens there. So I was like, I want information, which is why we had to get you on to talk about it. We still don't want to spoil things for people because it definitely takes away, I think, the excitement and the joy that you can get for these events if you know everything that's supposed to happen. I think that's the one problem with these, not even the one, but with these Facebook groups for different like Disney experiences, because they discuss it. And then if yours isn't exactly that way, you're like, well, whatever, I'm unhappy now or whatever. So we don't want to spoil things, but I feel like we want to address just slightly, even if we very broadly talk about it. Like they had some like cool evening activities, right? For you guys.
Yep.
And again, we don't want to spoil it. So we're going to kind of make it broad, but like I wanted to know about it.
It was funny because before, started the Disney Institute, I searched the web hard. I wanted to find any information I could. I was so excited. I did all this deep dive on social media and I was looking through blogs, but I couldn't find anything recent. And I think that might just be that the Disney Institute was on hiatus, at least for in-person workshops, for a long time. And this might change over the next 6 months to a year as more people are attending these courses and workshops. But I really went in pretty blind, and I think that made my experience so cool. Just because I had no idea what to expect. Even though I tried to find information, I just couldn't. It was kind of like a surprise every day.
So, okay, the lightest of spoils. Can you tell us anything that would just sort of like wet our whistle for how Disney does this sort of event or this sort of learning experience with extra magic?
The first evening, it says that there's a group dinner. There's no real information about that, and I'm not going to give away what that evening entails, but it is not just, they don't just bring in dinner and you eat it at the conference center, where you've taken class all day. You do something else. That's all I'll say, but it was magical. It was so fun.
You board a helicopter, fly to wherever the Disney wishes. Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to go try it and get it spoiled for myself when I just experience it. That's going to be amazing. I don't think you can just like book this thing online, but at Disneyland, they have something under the Disney Institute moniker where like one of my kiddo was invited with a bunch of other kiddos from the city of Burbank to go to like a half-day institute where they taught them about the importance of team building through very kid-like examples. It was not like in any way aimed at adults, but I was chaperoning, so I got to see that. I thought it was so cute, and they took them to parts of California Adventure that you wouldn't normally get to go to. That part, I think, could be similar, that they can take the Disney Institute brand and put it in different aspects of the company pretty seamlessly, right? Because it just is something that already sort of works. The people, though, the two instructors for my kiddo were folks who taught traditions most days of the week. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Traditions is a 2-day course that all new hires at Disney parks and resorts have to go through. And when I went through Traditions, it did have a very like leadership, we're going to teach you how to make magic, and here are the key core values of working in any company sort of vibe. And they did sprinkle magic even in a like onboarding class, like Traditions. And those same two, not the exact same that I had, but those two instructors that were teaching the kids version also teach employees who are getting onboarded at Disneyland. So I'm curious if your instructors are sort of bouncing around in those different capacities as well.
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that. I do know that the two instructors we did have, I believe that they just do like Disney Institute courses. I don't think that they
were teaching other aspects of the company to different parts of it.
They may teach the 2 other courses that Disney offers, but I don't necessarily think that they like do Traditions or
right.
They've obviously been through it, but I don't think they teach it. But that's a really good question. I should have asked what else, what their day-to-day looks like.
Because they don't do these back to back to back, right? If you go and look on their website, there's a schedule, and it's not like they have a Disney Institute every single week, right?
So the Leadership Excellence course was once a month. So they had the 1 day once a month and the 3.5 day once a month. And my guess is that each course, and I don't really know, but my guess is that each course, at least the 3.5 day courses at Disney World, they run them once a month. Those courses are basically a week long. So if you have 3 weeks a month where you're doing a course,
then you have like another week for admin.
Or I know they recently did like a special veterans course. That may be wrong, but I think I saw something on their social media about that. I think they also do like special topic courses as well that that are kind of apart from those three main topics.
So I'm curious because obviously if I were to go to the Disney Institute, I want to know if you enjoy the food, but if I were to go to the Disney Institute, I would have to be concerned whether I could eat there or not. I have gone to some travel agent training that it's always a bit of work, but I've ultimately always been accommodated by Disney for my food restriction. Did you see any of that? And what did you think of the food as a whole?
So the food I thought was amazing, way better than I expected. I think sometimes Disney has, they certain restaurants are excellent, and a lot of the restaurants in the theme parks, are not my favorite, but the food at Disney Institute was amazing. It changed a lot day to day. I don't think we were ever served the same thing twice. And they also, we'd be excited about this, Christy, if you have a food allergy, a gluten allergy, dairy allergy, they do accommodate, they bring special meals for people with allergies. I was never hungry that entire week because, if you're eating like a full breakfast, a big snack, a full lunch, an afternoon snack, they fed us so well. It was awesome.
Well, I love to be well fed, especially when I'm learning. Well, honestly, thank you so much for sharing this. This is so fun to talk about and to learn more about. As we sort of wrap up, could we just hear your overall final thoughts, things you would want to share about the experience? Give us sort of one last overall viewpoint.
And do you feel your company had value for sending you to this event or this learning institute?
I think when I was looking into the Disney Institute, I was coming off a really stressful period at work where I was working a lot of long hours. I was feeling fairly burnt out. I felt like I was kind of burning the candle at both ends. And attending the Disney Institute really kind of lit that fire in me again and made me just motivated to kind of step out of my day-to-day role and my day-to-day activities and think more strategically about how I can motivate my team. It helped me look long-term about what my leadership legacy should be and how to encourage and motivate others. I think that was money well spent. If you have the opportunity to attend a Disney Institute course, you should 100% take it. It really, really kind of changed the game for me. And every day, I attended this course about a month and a half ago, and I still think about the skills I learned at the Disney Institute. I still reference my handbook, the materials that we went through, throughout the course of my work week. I'm really excited to kind of implement more strategies, throughout the next few months at my company.
Now, Chris, don't you just want to go to the Disney Institute?
Yeah.
Like you have a company that could pay for you to go to the Disney Institute. Can I somehow be a consultant or something for your company so that they'll pay for me to go to the Disney Institute? Because otherwise I have to pay for it myself.
Yeah, I don't think we need your services, but I would love to. I would love to find a stipend or something that was focused on professional development and go there. But yeah, you got me thinking. I bet you got a lot of our listeners thinking. Well, thank you so much. This has been so much fun, and I can't wait to have you on again. Do you have any fun cruises or anything planned in the future?
Yes, I'm actually, we are doing a quick 3-night on the Disney Wish in early December.
Your first time?
First time on the Wish, so I'm super excited. It'll be our first cruise as Gold Castaway Club members. So
yay! So if they have merch, you can get a discount.
I know. I'm so excited to take advantage of that. So we're going early December, and then we're also going down to Walt Disney World for Marathon Weekend in January. I don't know if you guys are headed down there, but
I'm skipping, but I don't know. Christy, did you register for anything Marathon Weekend?
No, I'll be around, but I will not.
But we have our regular Run Disney Rundown people. I think they're all doing Marathon Weekend, and they're going to do the cruise on the Wish that stops at Castaway 5K.
Castaway challenge.
Yeah. So we'll be represented, but yay. Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait to hear what you think about the Wish. You'll have to come back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Wish with a baby.
We're actually
ditching the child.
Ditching the child. It'll be our first time. I'm super nervous, and half the time I'm like super excited about it, and then the other half I kind of oscillate back to like, oh my God, we're gonna leave him with family for a few days. I think it'll be good.
It'll be great.
It'll be great.
It'll be great for all of you. That is fantastic. I mean, he's a well-traveled child already at like 16 months. And so he can skip this one little trip and he gets time with, people who are going to dote on him and give him everything he wants, whether he should have it or not.
Exactly.
Oh, it sounds perfect. And you get some like quiet adult time. Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Tell people one more time if they would like to find you on Instagram, where they can find you.
Sure. I'm at Bella Notte Runner on Instagram, as in the, Lady the Tramp Bella Notte.
Yeah.
I'm a big Lady the Tramp fan, so.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. Ian shows up, and so we'll see how this goes. Fun times. Okay. Good night, everybody.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.